Hey, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. Here's a peculiar question. Do you really need to do that annual blood work? And you may be saying, of course you do. That is, the big scientific stamp of approval. This is, this shows what your health is. And I'm beginning to think that's bunk. Because most of the numbers that you're getting are highly transient. If you were there trying to get your hormone levels checked, they fluctuate throughout the day a lot. If you're a male and you're getting your testosterone level checked and you get it checked in the afternoon, it's going to be rock bottom. But it's going to peak in the morning. So are you getting a real true measure, or are you just getting that one snapshot in time? Your A1C can jump up pretty dramatically. At least it's suspected as much. We think that your A1C can change depending on how healthy you are and how good of your diet is. The A1C is based on the assumption that a red blood cell, lasts about 3 months. But is that true with somebody who is eating a proper human diet, that they're eating low carb, and they're healthy? Does that extend the life of the red blood cell? And if so, does that allow more glucose to glycate get on top of that cell? And frankly, we don't know. So that may not be the best indicator of where a really healthy, long-term, low-carb person is as far as type 2 diabetes is concerned. A HOMA IR, which is a measure of where you are in fasting insulin with your fasting glucose, is probably a much better indicator of where you are as a type 2 diabetic. But, most doctors don't test that, unfortunately. But, that's not a bad blood test. But if you don't have any symptoms of being a type 2 diabetic, your weight's been stable, you're eating a low-carb diet, and you've been doing it for years, and you're exercising, what's the point? Your iron level can go up pretty dramatically if you've got some sort of infection or have stress, etc. And that number can give somebody a very false positive. There's a lot of things that can throw off your thyroid level at any given time, but if you're not showing any symptoms, no hair loss, no unexplained weight gain, your energy level is fine, why are you getting the complete thyroid panel? Now, that is not to say that if you've got symptoms, you're losing all your hair all of a sudden and you're gaining weight and you're feeling lethargic, getting a complete thyroid panel might make a lot of sense. And if you don't know what a complete thyroid panel is, may I really strongly suggest you get Dr. Ken Berry's book on lab work. And he explains all this stuff in really great detail about all the tests that your doctor probably isn't going to do. And if your doctor won't do it, then get your own. You can order your own blood work in almost every state. And you order it, you go to a lab, they draw it, they test it, and you can check the levels. Now, why would you do that on your own? Well, frankly, if you've got symptoms and you go to your doctor and you say, Doc, look, here are the symptoms that I've got. Here's my blood work. When I look at it, I'm sitting here thinking that it's this. What are your thoughts? Now you can have an intelligent conversation, and probably they will take their head out of their computer and look at you with their jaw dropping on the ground going, oh my God, an informed patient. And somebody who's already pretty darn healthy, made the necessary lifestyle changes, probably has their weight in check, and is asking intelligent questions. Now you can use a doctor as a valuable resource. I mean, really, when you think about what a doctor is, it's not just a physician. They're supposed to be a teacher and a guided, a special advisor with very specialized knowledge. And you can go in there and you can ask intelligent questions and you understand it and you've got the numbers behind you. Now you can have a really good conversation with a doctor. You show up at the doctor saying, I feel kind of lousy. Yeah, they hear that all the time. And they're going to look in their computer and they're going to hit all their little check boxes, and they're not going to ask you real questions, and they're not going to get to the root cause. But if you're already halfway there and you've got some research and you kind of know, hey, is this or this based on this blood work, and you're experience and your knowledge. That's a very different conversation that not too many physicians have. So I think it's one worth having. And why not utilize them well? I mean, you're paying a lot of money for it. You might as well get your money's worth. So think about how to have intelligent conversations with your doctors. Think about why you're doing blood work. I mean, when you start off keto and carnivore, I'm kind of a big believer in getting some of that blood work done. You need to know if you've got metabolic syndrome, which is 5 markers. First 2, you don't need blood work, which is your waist over 40 as a man? Is your blood pressure high? You can test those at home. But I cannot test at home whether my blood glucose is high. I can't test my triglycerides to see if they're high. And I can't see if my HDL, is good. These are things that have to be done through blood work, but you can test those on your own, and you can figure out if you've got metabolic syndrome without going to a doctor. That doesn't require anything. Those markers are there, and do a little internet research and you can see exactly what those markers are. If you're really concerned, boy, am I a type 2 diabetic or pre-type 2 diabetic? Am I in trouble? Check your home or IR. Get a fasting insulin level done and blood glucose level. Plug that into an online calculator and it'll tell you exactly where you are. Trying to, fine-tune hormone levels, that's requires specialized work because it requires prescriptions and stuff like that, and you do need in-depth stuff. But hey, look, when I found out, I have metabolic syndrome and it's kind of bad, and this is going to create problems, that was something that I could fix. Because it's not like there's a drug that is going to necessary to raise LDL, HDL cholesterol. That is something that you can only fix through diet and lifestyle. Same thing with triglycerides. The only way to lower triglycerides is through diet and lifestyle. You got to lift heavy things, not eat carbs. So think about it. Before you spend your money on more blood work, and if you know that you're metabolically healthy and you're not experiencing any symptoms, why are you spending money on it? And, maybe, if you're like a YouTube influencer and you want to get lots of clicks and likes and want to share your blood work and, go rah, rah, look at me, okay, that maybe makes sense. But if you're an average person who is healthy, stable, everything's going great, why are you wasting time on it? Frankly, I don't know. And that's what I've been thinking about and deciding, I'm going to skip the blood work this year. I'll spend my money elsewhere. I'll go get a better steak and maybe take my girlfriend out. We'll go out and have a really good steak or something like that. I don't know, but why spend a couple $100 on blood work when frankly, I don't see any real need for it because they're just transient markers. Something to think about. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I try to put out a couple messages each week. If you find value in what is being taught here, do me a favor. Please hit like, subscribe, join this channel of other like-minded folks. It helps the algorithm spread the word, get more people interested in this stuff. We can talk about this stuff because, look, frankly, in this fight for our health, you're all alone. You're it. You're the only one that can look after you. But we can all be alone in this together. I will talk to you again soon.